So I didn't get my other video posted because it was really, really long and it was oriented funny. So I'm going to try with my camera this way. I've been drawing Groo every day in October, and I'm on October 15th. And I already drew him, and the other video I was starting with pencil and it took forever. So I'm just going to color. And I thought I would do a video because I wanted to talk to about something that I saw on Twitter. And it's a response to a clip by Dave Rubin, and I think I can play that and it'll be in the background. It's very short. Anyway, Dave Rubin said this.
People need to see, and this goes to your question about what conservatives do. Conservatives need to start showing people, hey, you know, we're actually the fun people. We're the interesting people. We're the creative people. We're the open-minded people. They're all hysterical and angry at all of the things they purport us to be. But let's get out there and show people that's not who we are. We're actually having fun. And I mean, try to even think about it this way. Where do you think the next great music or art is going to come from? You think it's going to come from the Marxist left, where you can't have any individual expression? Or do you think it's going to come from this new thing on the right? I mean, the answer is pretty obvious. People...
Okay, so I don't know how well you could hear that, but Dave Rubin was basically saying that conservatives should show people that we're the fun people, interesting, creative, open-minded people. And this fellow responded very predictably. He said, conservatives are not fun, creative, smart, empathetic, or interesting. That's why they don't make great art. Their art sucks ass, period. The next great music will never come from the right, ever. It hasn't so far, so why would it ever in the future? And I wanted to talk about that because I have heard that so often. I am a science fiction writer and have hung around in science fiction circles for quite a long time. And 20 years ago, you would hear people say, you know, the reason that there's not very many conservatives around is because they're just not very creative. We aren't driving them off. We're not making them feel unwelcome. We're not doing anything wrong whatsoever. It's just that creatives are liberal and conservatives are not creative. So, and this is utterly ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous on the face of it. And the guy saying that conservatives have never created art and never will and never going to have the next, you know, best music and never will is so historically ridiculous. Shoot, I ran the black marker there. I gotta be more careful. Most great art and music, the stuff that lasts forever, it was innovative at the time it was created, but it was innovated in a way that didn't destroy what came before. It wasn't destructive innovation. It was taking what was there, and the musicians, the composers, the artists would study from masters, and they would learn everything that they could learn, and then they would innovate on that foundation. And pretty much Bach or Handel or Mozart or Beethoven or Michelangelo or Caravaggio or, I mean, anybody you can think of. C.S. Lewis, Tolkien. The art that we have maintained will have an innovative element to it. You know, it stands out somehow from the rest, but it's not destructive of the past. It builds on the past. And a lot of this art that was just absolutely incredible art was created by people who were religious, and their art was an expression of their worship of God. They were they created absolutely terrific works of art that we still, you know, we look to today as the standard, as what we can hope to live up to. I mean, the only thing new gives you is, you know, something's new and fresh, and then it's old and tired. It doesn't, if it doesn't have something else going for it, other than, you know, I offended the old church ladies, har har, look at me, it doesn't last. We aren't going to be reading these stories or playing this music to our grandkids or our greats, you know, however 1,000 years from now. It's not going to be the trendy new stuff. It's going to be something that was created very much by somebody who has learned from the masters of whatever generation, whatever century. And this idea that conservatives or Christians or, you know, those icky people on the right, libertarians, because, you know, we all know that, you know, how awful libertarians are, that, you know, thinking about individual rights and everything, they, you know, and having an even lower ick reflex than liberals do. And we know they aren't creative, right? Har har. And if there's not conservatives and libertarians in your creative spaces, it's because you drove them out, and making an excuse for yourself that, oh, it's not because we're dicks. It's not because we're intolerant. It's not because we've made people feel unwelcome because we're toxic bags of shit. No, it's just that they're not very creative. We're awesome and they're dull, or, you know, and that's why they're not at our science fiction convention, and that's why they're not working in our creative business. And it's like, it's such a lie. You know, I would say that the best art, in fact, I mean, my own, I'm not a visual artist. I'm doing this because it's fun. I do, you know, do different crafts and things, but I'm a writer. And the best stuff and the best creativity works with constraints. And people think, oh, I don't want constraints. Well, then you just have a mess. You just have a mess. And, you know, it's like you've got a toddler finger painting with poo on the kitchen floor. And you're like, they're very proud of themselves. But conservatism is about building. And the Marxist progressives don't want to build. So if you're not about building, how are we supposed to think you're going to build anything worth anybody else preserving, you know? You don't want to preserve Western civilization. You don't want to preserve art. You know, so you're going to create something worth preserving? I kind of don't think so. You know, it's just self-gratifying little fables that people tell themselves. And they're, you know, they're banana taped to a wall with a piece of duct tape is going to rot. And that's, you know, that's the end of it. But he said a couple other things. What did he say? Conservatives aren't smart. You know, I think somebody here isn't smart. You know, people are people. Some are smart, some are dumb. Some liberals are complete and absolute idiots. Some of them are smart enough to manage to get themselves in very interesting ideological corners, you know. But I would never say people aren't, you know, oh, I'm the smart one. No, who says that? Who goes, oh, we're the smart ones? No, you're not. Lots of people are very smart. My conservative and libertarian author friends are, you know, Mensa members, literal NASA rocket engineers, PhDs in rocket science, geologists, medical doctors, physicists, lots of physicists actually, you know, not so many people who majored in studies as my orange. It's not going to be my orange that I bought just for this. You know, I hang them around them because they're smarter than I am, and I like that. I like being around people smarter than me. But it's ridiculous. So I mean that's just utterly ridiculous. There's a lot of dummies out there, but you know, it's got nothing to do with your politics or whether you're, you know, conservative or not, or whether you're progressive. Notice I don't say liberal, and I don't say liberal on purpose because none of these people are liberal. They aren't even slightly liberal, which is another thing that Dave Rubin said. It's like you've got these Marxists who absolutely demand conformity. you know, how can you be creative in an environment that absolutely requires conformity? You know, you can't. Yeah, I'm not sure about how I do these things. What else did he say? Empathetic. Okay, empathy is one of my big bugbears. It's like people think it's empathetic to harden your heart and hate the bad people. And it's garbage. You're not being empathetic if you can't imagine the emotions of your enemy. If you can't empathize with everybody, if you're not compelled to empathize with absolutely everybody, you're sympathetic to the people that you choose to sympathize with. There's no empathy there. It's just choosing sides. It's a whole lot of self-congratulatory fiction and ridiculousness that this guy's, and he's not alone. I mean, I don't know who he is. He's got a blue mark. Who cares? Because I've heard this so often in so many other places. He's just representative. You know, we're the caring ones. Well, I just denigrate a whole group of people as being absolutely unable to be creative because they don't tape a rotten banana to a wall. You know, it's they don't make music, or you know, they don't conform to this guy's particular week-long dictates that are going to be something different next week. You know, how can you create art this week if next week it's going to get you canceled? How are you going to create something great if you turn around and it's and next week it's going to be like, oh, you can't do that. You can't say that anymore. You're a bad person. We need to erase all of that you did. You know, nobody can be creative in that environment. You can't be creative in an environment where if you try something and it doesn't work, that you get destroyed, you get hounded, and you're like, well, I wasn't really going for that, but you have to have the freedom to create in order to create. Just ridiculous. But what else? Open-minded. You know, on the left, not only are they not open-minded, like I said, they pick sides. You pick sides, and you have to, you know, you have who you're sympathetic to, and you know, you have to have the right opinions about everything. Whoops, that went the wrong way. So how is that open-minded? An open-minded person would be like, you think differently than me. Let's talk. And what progressives do, what the Marxist left does, is they valorize refusing to talk to the bad people. You have a big list of unclean that you're not allowed to, you know, have an open mind. It's just the most ridiculous thing. it, and fun and interesting. I went to a 4th of July party, and it was fun, and the people were interesting. But the host, the lady hosting it, at one point described how she chose the playlist, because she'd been complimented on the playlist. It was a very good playlist. I enjoyed it very much. And she talked about how she had to balance the level of patriotism so that she wouldn't overdo it. And I thought, that's not fun. How is that fun to have to, when you're planning a party, do an ideological balancing act while you're choosing your playlist for political acceptance? How is that fun? How is that? I really kind of felt bad for her, because I don't think she even realized what she'd done. And I certainly didn't point it out to her, because I'm not a jerk. But I just thought about my friends, and I thought about I imagined them creating a playlist and taking the time to curate that playlist for political and ideological acceptability. And I can't do it. I can't do it. There's nobody I enjoy being around on a very lengthy basis who curates their life that way, because that would be exhausting. It would be tedious. You know, relax, have fun. But anyway, I mean, just the fact he's wrong is bad enough, but it's that he's wrong in a way that I've seen over and over again for 20 years. You know, and trust me, if there's no creatives in your space who are conservative, it's because you drove them out. It's not because you're an extra special liberal creative person and conservatives don't know how to make art. It's because you're an asshole and the environment around you is toxic. So there's truth. I think I might change to other characters. See, here's because my dad asked me what I was doing. See, here's let's see this one. Oops. I'm going from the comic book. These were actually pretty neat. This Groo and Tarzan, this one's the first one. It's a pretty fun story. There's like 3 stories in it. There's the Tarzan, and then there's kind of a self-insert. I think these are supposed to be the creators going to a Comic-Con. So it's pretty neat. And then it switches to Tarzan, and then it switches to Groo, and then it switches, so it's like 3 stories. It's pretty neat. People should check it out if you're at all interested. But I might get some old Groo comics and draw some of his female nemesises for the next 15 days. I'm not sure. I think it sounds like a good idea. Let's see. Put him in the middle. Let me see him. All right.